and welcome to Tech24. I'm Annelise Borges. In today's show, we take you to infinity and beyond. Astronaut Thomas Pesquet is with us to explain why each one of his steps might be a giant leap for mankind. That's right, we're talking the future of space exploration in Tech24. And in our test segment, we check out Scorpit, the electric scooter that can take you anywhere with a top speed of 30 kilometers an hour. It's fast, stylish, and made in France. On April 12, 1961, we sent the first person out in space. Yuri Gagarin completed an orbit of the Earth aboard Vostok. And yes, we have come a long way since then. At this precise moment, 3 men are traveling out in space at a speed of 27,000 kilometers an hour, 430 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. Oleg Novinsky, Kevin Ford, and Evgeny Tarelkin are crew members at the International Space Station. And by the end of this show, they will have traveled the equivalent of the distance between Paris and New York. Since 2001, space has been permanently populated, though not exclusively with professional astronauts. Having mapped and even tweeted from the 4 corners of the planet, tourists are now looking to the cosmos and to a new breed of travel agents like Space Adventures, which has taken civilians to the International Space Station and on suborbital flights at the edge of Earth's atmosphere. But just how far are we going and why? To answer these questions and more, European Space Agency astronaut Thomas Pesquet joins me now. Thomas, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today. You look kind of busy at the moment. One might think you're actually in space as we speak, but Thomas is at the European Astronaut Center in Cologne, Germany. I would like to know a little bit more about this training center. What kind of training is organized for you?
The European Astronaut Center is the center of the European Space Agency that's responsible for everything related to astronauts, from selection and training to medical care. So that's the home base of the European Astronaut Corps. That's where you can see the European astronauts when they're not flying to space. And it's also at the same time the one place where other astronauts from NASA in the US or the Russian cosmonauts come and train on the European assets like the Olander module, in which I'm standing right now, or the ATV cargo vehicle.
That's great. Are you going to show us around? Can you show us around a little bit of this vehicle where you train?
I can show you around a little bit if you want me to.
There you go. It does look very realistic. I've never been to a space station myself, but it definitely convinces me. Now I would like to talk to you about the importance of space exploration to humankind. What kind of research, for example, is done in space?
So the research we do in space, space research really has 2 constituents. On one hand, the research we do on the ISS, it deals with microgravity. So we're making use of the properties of microgravity to carry out experiments that are impossible on Earth. So for example, recently, there's a vaccine against salmonella that's been isolated with the help of the astronauts on board. Or there's a new material alloy that's been characterized by space research and that is now used daily on Earth. But on the other hand, for example, going to a planet like Mars and doing science on Mars, searching for life, would help us answer questions like how is life created, and above all, how is it destroyed? Why does it disappear? Why did it disappear from the surface of Mars? So as to understand our planet better and to understand our place in the universe better.
And I have heard, Thomas, that the ultimate goal of space exploration is Mars. How far are we from setting foot on the red planet? And is it really that interesting? Would you be interested in going?
Well, of course I would. It's one of my childhood dreams, of course. But you're right in saying that Mars is the ultimate goal. So now all nations, all international partners involved in space exploration have agreed on this. There are still a few hurdles to be solved, like, for example, the total radiation dose that the astronauts would receive on such a long trip, 900 days back and forth, including the stay on Mars. And also, Mars atmospheric entry and landing is still problematic for such a massive mission. But we can see today that the research that's been carried out by all the International Space Agency is converging on some key technologies. High-speed space propulsion, for example, shorten the trip a lot, and therefore, in the process, reducing the radiation dose and making also the mission lighter, and enabling the re-entry. So we can see that we're not very far away from a mission to Mars. I think we can say now that in 25 years, we'll be technically able to send men to Mars.
Now, Thomas, amid harsh economic times, can we really afford to go to space?
Well, that's a very fair question. It's true that lots of people actually think that going to space is expensive, whereas it's actually not that expensive. The entire budget of the European Space Agency, including launchers, navigation satellites, weather satellites, telecommunication satellites that we use daily in our daily life, represents approximately 10 euros per year and per European citizen. Out of those 10 euros, only approximately a little bit more than 1.5 goes to human spaceflight to send European astronauts to space to do research and exploration. So that's something to keep in mind next time you're having a coffee or you're buying a metro ticket. And what's more, spending money to space is not an expense, it's an investment, because all this money that's spent into space research comes back down to Earth in terms of jobs, in terms of applications, in terms of technology.
And now, finally, what about space tourism? What do you think the future holds for the rest of us in the exploration of space?
Well, I think that space exploration actually follows the pattern of exploration on Earth. So you first send the explorers when you don't know what to expect and you have to be prepared for everything. And then you send the settlers, the pioneers, and eventually when the new territory has been charted, everyone can go. So that's exactly what's happening right now in space. I think in 20 years, professional astronauts will venture further and further away into the solar system, leaving low Earth orbit open for the general public. There has never been as many projects of space vehicles, space hotels, space stations as now. So in 20 years, you could very well spend your weekend maybe in low Earth orbit, while the professional astronauts, hopefully me and my cameras here at least, I will be pushing the frontier a little bit further away, and we'll try to expand the realm of human presence in the solar system.
Thomas Pesquet, I wish you the best of luck, and we're going to have to move on now because it's time for Test 24. Think scooters look ridiculous if you're past 12 years old? Well, think again. Scorpit is a French-made electric scooter that takes you around at top speeds of 30 kilometers an hour. Mark Adwas has taken one for a spin, and here he is. He is back. Mark, it looks like you can go pretty fast.
It can, it really can. It's not quite
anywhere, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's got enough battery for 20 kilometers, is that right?
That's right, up to just around 24 kilometers at full speed. As you said, 30 kilometers an hour. Let's get this puppy on here if you can have a look at it.
Wow.
Absolutely. Right, it's a lot of fun.
It's heavy.
It is heavy, 12.8 kilograms, which means that actually I think it's certainly something you don't want to be carrying around a lot. Perfect, say you're living 15 to 20 minutes cycle ride normally away from work. Something like this would be perfect. Goes very fast, very good in straight lines. A bit harder to sort of navigate around. I had a good time annoying everybody in the office whilst we were filming that sequence.
How much for the vehicle?
899 euros. It would be a good gift if you've got that sort of money. Personally, a bit heavy. I think for the majority, I'd happily get given one for Christmas, I think, rather than actually purchase one myself.
Thanks for that, Mark, and thank you for watching this edition of Tech 24. Don't forget you can give us your feedback on the show via Facebook or on Twitter @TechF24. And we leave you today with the images of what we looked for in 2012. Each December, Google compiles detailed lists of the world's search activity over the past 12 months. The year in review is known as the Google Zeitgeist. I hope you found what you were looking for. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.